Hey guys, this is FPL Tips team and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video. In this video, we are back with another Q&A video and this is the second time we're recording this week. We have some content coming out on our YouTube channel and I think that is worth a while. What do you think, Akhilesh?
Yeah, it feels great to get going with more and more content coming out of the back. And yeah, more videos to come from now till game week 1. But let's first focus on the current topic, which is we did ask you all of you a few questions which we would like to address. Yeah, let's get started with addressing them.
Before you start, since you're mentioning it, we are really close to Game Week 1 and also close to 3,000 subscribers. So please, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to our page and also hit the bell icon because we are putting out a lot of more content in the next coming weeks. And this is going to be a season throughout this time. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Okay, so the first question, this is the Q&A video. We don't have a lot of stats. We're going to talk about what we have studied in the stats and what we have in terms of consolidated information. So the first question to begin with, best 3 Arsenal attackers to go or Arsenal players to go for.
One, I think for now, Saka is nailed because pre-season he looked sharp. Towards the end of last season, he did look a little bit shaky, but not too much to take from that. I think he'll come back hungry. It'll be a fresh Arsenal team trying to look to go again to get the title, and so that makes Arsenal a strong team and their assets who are all very underpriced. So Saka, I think, comes at number one for me, and he's also a template option right now. Much because he's very involved. He has both goal and assist potential, and he is also on penalties. He missed one in preseason, but he did miss one last season as well. So I don't think anything that says anything with respect to his penalty duties. I think he keeps it until they face like a proper issue with respect to penalty taking. I think he keeps it and he will be play getting those penalties. The other thing with Saka is that his minutes are more secure. I'm pretty sure Jesus and Martinelli also early on their minutes are secured, but Saka will be on the pitch for longer. And also with the new Premier League rules coming out, where the stoppage time will be extended a little more. It'll be much more similar to the World Cup from last year, which will make your assets which are still on the pitch, who play 90 minutes week in, week out, more appealing. And Saka is surely one of that. So Bukayo Saka is number one, Arsenal, whoever you go. And looking at the other two options from Arsenal, which you can go for, there are quite a few options. There is Jesus, there is Martinelli, there is Odegaard in the attacking bracket, and there is also Gabriel, Saliba, and Zinchenko. So all of these look good options. All of these look like players who will get regular playing time. But let's look into it a little more deeply. First, let's look at the attackers with respect to Odegaard and Martinelli. I think currently in FPL, Odegaard is owned by more managers than Martinelli, but I would advocate for Martinelli because personally, he's really, I mean, he's really exciting. He's an exciting player for me, a personal favorite. Really, I mean, direct with respect to how he wants to go about attacking, which is really nice for from an FPL point of view. He can score goals, gets into great positions, links up really well with Jesus, with Trossard when he's on the field, and he also can create a bunch of few chances also. Last year his underlying stats were very great as well, so he is gonna continue playing that position and fairly secured minutes at the early on. We've discussed this before because Trossard can also play that midfield, left center midfield role where he's been tried out in the preseason. So I'm sure that Martinelli will be starting the first few games. Until Europe kicks in, he should be secured for minutes. Maybe he might be removed in the 60, 70-minute mark, but I still think he's good enough to be in your FPL team because he even in those 60, 70 minutes, he can do enough damage. Coming to Odegaard, I think he is a little less appealing this year. Last year he did score 15 goals, but he overperformed by almost more than 5 goals. And he is he's got to be much more deeper. And with Havertz playing alongside him, Havertz will take more positions inside the box. Odegaard is more the one who will receive the ball and drive it and also play his passes. He'll link up well with Saka, but I think he's going to be much more deeper. He will probably take his shots once in a while, but I'm not sure his goal threat is as high as it seemed to be last year. So that's why Odegaard comes in at number three, and also that 0.5 million more than Martinelli is a bit of an issue also with respect to Odegaard. What do you think?
So like your top three is Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard.
No, I think I'm just addressing about the attackers, but
I
I
mean,
think top.
I think let's go overall because I don't think people can pick three attackers and a defender. So I mean, going personally, Saka, I get it. He's top. He's good on stats. He's done well. I mean, there's a close call between Martinelli and Saka, but I prefer Saka because of the penalties. That's a factor, obviously, when you consider FPL. Second in
Yeah.
my list, I prefer Jesus because he's more central, but I'm equally tempted by Martinelli. So it depends on a structure thing as well. If you're going at three forward, then I think I would fit Jesus. But if you're going a two forward, I don't think Jesus makes it to the draft for me. Might as well go Martinelli and take a punt up top, maybe with a Nkunku or a Jackson. That's what I'm thinking as of now. So it's very team dependent, structure dependent for me on the second place. But if you want to go to an
I'm
explosive
pretty
option, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty in a similar level as you with the same thing. Currently looking at a two forward formation with a striker alongside Haaland, who's not named Jesus, with Martinelli in the midfield. But I'm not against the idea actually right now to if after the Community Shield fixture later this week, if Jesus becomes a more appealing option than Martinelli, I'm open to shifting from a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3 with Jesus and one of Nkunku, Jackson, or Darwin Nunez as the third striker.
Yeah, that's the question I have in my head as well when I am considering Jesus. That do I want him forever, or maybe there's an option for there's basically a placeholder for someone like a Darwin, or maybe a Watkins if he blasts or some other striker that comes up. But for me, it's Saka, Martinelli slash Jesus, and the third one is Gabriel. I have no argument or no doubt. Yes, when you look at his numbers, he's not like massively scoring goals. He scored what 3 or 4 goals last season. There is clean sheet potential for Arsenal. That's what keeps me going. Without Xhaka as well, I think there could be a situation where if they try to attack too much, there's not as much cover as they had last season. But again, obviously Rice would step in. I think he would do a great job at Arsenal. So I'm expecting decent number of clean sheets for Arsenal, and that is why Gabriel is third. Those are the three players I would go for. Between Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus, if I have to not sit on the fence and pick two, my preferred two is still Saka and Jesus. And Jesus only because I think he could play slightly more minutes. With the rule now that the fact that Premier League will also play extended added minutes, it could be 110, it could be 115. Depending on that, the fact I know that Martinelli can be subbed off by at 70, 75 with Trossard. There's enough chunk of the game left still to play. Jesus will still play about 85, 90 in my opinion, and that's the only difference why Jesus edges it for me.
I mean, last year when you look at Jesus, he did play a lot of 90s. But when you see towards the end of the season, there was a time where Trossard was playing as the number nine and Martinelli was playing alongside him, and they were pretty good. So I don't think I mean coming this season there might be games where Jesus might be removed earlier and Martinelli might still play in the pitch. This is what just I can imagine with respect to Arsenal because that front three also worked out last year pretty well. So I'm not ruling out Martinelli staying longer and Jesus earlier substitution as well. But that being said, I think I agree with you. I think Jesus is more secured for minutes than Martinelli. And with respect to the defenders, I think I also think Gabriel is the best choice. Zinchenko and Saliba might be choices, but Gabriel is the best goal threat,
Hands
and
on is
he is
better.
also the most nailed for minutes. And I mean, there's nobody's gonna take minutes away from Gabriel because he's very central and crucial for Arsenal's defensive transition and also ball playing. He's very good with that as well.
Yep.
So I think we can agree upon Saka, Gabriel, and one of Martinelli and Jesus as the three Arsenal players to go for.
Yep. Moving on, we have like the second question, which is Chelsea assets, especially in Nkunku or Jackson. I'll take this up first. Being a Chelsea fan, I think there are three interesting prospects. Obviously, Nkunku, Jackson, and Chilwell. Out of the three, I really prefer Chilwell because he'll be used the similar way he was used in the preseason, where our right back, be it Gusto at the start of the season or James, whoever starts, it doesn't matter. They will tuck in. Chilwell will be given the license to bomb ahead, and he's been good. He's generally good. He was good at Leicester as well, and he's good at that. So I feel Chilwell is the guy who has the maximum upside. Chelsea with clean sheet potential is something to watch out for. I'm not very confident. Obviously, we haven't been that great defensively last season as well. The fixtures are kind to us at the start of the season, so we can see some clean sheets. But Chilwell genuinely has goal threat and assist potential out there. Nkunku or Jackson, personally, I'll start with Nkunku for two reasons. If I have to switch directly to a Darwin, I don't have to spend a lot of money. Maybe a point, if let's say I have 0.5 in the bank, then it's an easier move. But Jackson to Darwin, if Darwin rises in price, will be a tough move to make. So having Nkunku gives you the option not only downgrading to a Jackson in Game Week 3 if he's good, or to a sideways move to Darwin. So that is why I'm only because of the fact that it's more flexible in your draft. I see Nkunku starting in my team, and that would be a second choice. Jackson, again, you can purely take a punt. There's no harm going Jackson, but remember it's a punt. He mostly should start. That's my take on that. He should start ideally, but again, I'm not extremely confident that he'll start. And even if he starts,
Yeah.
it's still
I
his
also
first
think
Premier League season. I think even for Nkunku, it's like unknown waters. You can go there, but Nkunku gives you the ability to jump anyway, sideways or downgrade. Jackson, you kind of get limited there.
I agree with you there, and I also think that Nkunku's expected minutes is higher than Jackson because we saw him, especially in the preseason, play as a number 10, play as a winger on the left hand side, and also play as the front man leading the attack. So you can see Nkunku play any of these positions. There are covers at number 10 with Chukwuemeka. There is a wing cover with Woodrick with Sterling. So and Madueke. So I think there can be occasions where the front four is Sterling or Mudryk on the left, Chukwuemeka at number 10, Madueke on the right, and Nkunku in front. And
Yeah,
I don't think that will be early on in the season, but
it
that
can
just
happen
means
with the
me that
number of minutes
Nkunku is
that we
just
play as
more.
well.
Yeah, he's given more minutes. He's expected to play more minutes. Jackson is very exciting. Looks like a player who can be explosive. But I feel like I would want to see him a little bit in the Premier League, how he adapts. I think he's still only 22 years old, so he looks like an exciting pick, but I think he's more like a punt rather than Nkunku. Nkunku is more a solid option at this moment. I feel. I think there are some people being a little wary of Nkunku because Werner, when he came to Chelsea, was also a very popular asset in FPL a couple of years back. So that would be there, but I think they're very different players, and Nkunku is just someone who is just very involved all the time, and everything goes through him, and he gets a lot of say, whether it by getting an assist or a goal. So I think
Well,
Nkunku is a solid option
he's
up front.
arriving in the box at the right time. Sometimes do he's dropping deep, but that's very specific to the gameplay that Chelsea are having. But I think on most occasions he will be in the box, so that's an added advantage to Nkunku. He'll also share some set pieces, which is also an added advantage. Even Chilwell will take
I'm
some
guessing
set
he'll have
pieces.
penalties.
And penalties, I won't comment because we are Sterling in the team. Jackson might demand it if he's the striker of the team. So I wouldn't comment on the penalty situation unless I see something. But yes, there's a
Right.
potential chance that he could be on penalties as well.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh, Covering Chelsea up, we have Trent, Salah, and Darwin. Those are the three players. Is Trent really worth it? Salah, should we get or not? Or Darwin, or just get Darwin? So that's essentially the question. Trent, I would like to start with. I think hell no. My problem is 8 million guy playing in midfield. I know he'll get assist, maybe a jammy clean sheet. Liverpool's fixtures are not the best. When you look at Liverpool's fixture taker, they're not the greatest to really actually go out and see clean sheets. So personally, I don't prefer that situation where we are in with the fixtures. I can bring them up if you want somewhere over here. Let me just check. Yeah, somewhere over here. So Liverpool play Chelsea away. I don't see that as a clean sheet. Then they play Bournemouth, Newcastle, Aston Villa, both away and home. But again, Bournemouth also are an attacking team, so I don't see a clean sheet there. Slightly tough, and they don't have a number 6 as of now. So they're still the same team. They're going to all out attack. Obviously, they've in preseason they've not conceded a lot of goals, but do you really rely them on without a number 6 to keep clean sheets? I really don't. So I did, and on preseason as well, he's not shown some extreme form or something where he can score goals. Yes, he can still score a free kick goal out of the blue, but that's one in like 10 games. I don't bank him to score about double digits every game week, and that is why I don't think it's worth going there.
If you tell me who is going to score the most point out of defenders, I would still be going to bet on Trent.
Right.
But it's also that he's 8 million, and the other options who you will be comparing with him are 2.5 million cheaper in Chilwell, in Shaw, in Stones. And all of these guys are great options with great fixtures at the beginning of your team and who have a very good potential of returning points. And those 2.5 million can be used anywhere else to upgrade. Upgrade 6 million
That's the
midfielder.
difference. That would be the difference between a 6 million guy to a Saka, and the difference between in points between the 6 million and Saka would be massive in comparison to a Chilwell and Trent, and that's the argument
Absolutely.
here. So when you look at overall structure, Trent, I am not against the fact that Trent might be the top scorer defender again this season, but the fact that the difference between Chilwell and or maybe a Trippier sort of a player and Trent and let's say a Saka and a 6 million Saka and 6 million would be more effective and large, and that is what we're trying to cover here. So you're basically going for more points rather than just going for the highest point scorer defender.
Coming to the second part of the question, I think I'll take them together because I think if you want to look at Liverpool's attackers who have great underlying stats and are the biggest goal threat in Liverpool's attack, I'd say the two most are Mo Salah and Darwin Nunez this season because Darwin Nunez has looked more central to the goal, and Diogo Jota is also one who's probably a goal threat, but Darwin Nunez is more of a goal threat. Had a lot of big chances. His XG was through the roof last year, and that means that he's gonna just get chances whenever he's gonna get starts. But first, let's finish on Salah. Salah is again similar to Trent. He's very expensive. 12.5 is a lot, especially considering Haaland at 14 million. It'll take more than 1/4 of your team to just fit in Salah and Haaland, and that just seems a little too much to me because the options in the midfield with Rashford, Bruno, Saka, Martinelli, Foden, Maddison, and also the other Liverpool attackers, if you know who's nailed there. And then when you go in front, there's Jesus, there's Nkunku. You can get a line of these players, and that always just seems to get the better of me when I'm thinking about Salah because I just feel like all of them have great potential to attack, and it's a very similar thing to Trent, but Salah is just a more solid pick also because he's the one you can rely on captaincy, especially in game week 2.
But my say everyone around the sphere is basically saying that okay, you need Salah for game week 2 because of captaincy, but you can also captain a Haaland who can definitely score a double digit haul against Newcastle. You can also captain a Rashford. You can also captain a Saka. The problem, the dynamic that's changed for me is the fact that earlier there were very less few teams. We only related to the fact that City and Liverpool are the teams which will score 3+ goals. But now in that big boy category, so to say, in the Premier League, you have Arsenal. There's sort of a United that can score 3 goals. Chelsea is coming up there. On its day, Tottenham can score. Chelsea, I think Chelsea. I can see Chelsea scoring goals this season. Not last season, but we definitely have Arsenal. So, and we have the Arsenal assets much more cheaper. So Salah plus a 4.5 million would be almost equal to, let's say, Saka plus Martinelli, which is the point here. You're getting double the points there. So that's the point that I'm trying to make, and I think Salah. So when you remove Salah from the team, you have adequate funds to spend. Obviously, Salah could haul, and he is a magnet to number of points that he can get, but the distribution of funds is sort of a question. And also, I don't think I'm captaining. It's not, but again, would you like with everything that Salah has done? He's not like last time he scored against Bournemouth. But let's say Salah blanks or scores about 6-7 points and Haaland scores about 10+ points in game week 2 if not captain Haaland. You know that Haaland is about 160, 170 EO, and I think even Zoff made this point on his pod, where you're behind the curve already. So you're basically chasing beyond that point despite having Salah. Is it necessary to go differential in game week 2 is the
Yeah.
point.
I agree with that. And also one more thing is, I mean, if you when you see Salah with Bournemouth at home, you'll still back that fixture. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people who will be on Salah will back that fixture. And you just suddenly see like a brace or a hat trick from Haaland in game week 1. And when it comes, and also maybe a blank from Salah against Chelsea in game week 1, and you have Salah in your team. And it comes to Bournemouth home and Newcastle home for Haaland in game week 2, and then you're like, I
You
brought Salah
question, yeah.
in my team just to captain him for this Bournemouth home fixture, and then you will just feel like, oh my God, should I captain him?
Yeah,
Is
there's going to be
Haaland
doubts.
ready?
If Haaland scores a hat trick against Burnley, which is not the something impossible, I think going to be a lot of questions whether I should captain Salah or not in game week 2. And I think it's
Hmm.
not worth the. I know you will be. All of us will be hiding behind the sofa when he plays Bournemouth in game week 2. But again, I don't think it's worth taking so much funds out of for one player. It really dampens your team and weakens your team a bit. So personally,
Coming to Darwin Nunez,
that's sort of a
I
question,
currently have him in my draft
and I
because
don't.
of that very reason. That if Darwin Nunez, on the other hand, I'm gonna watch him for the next two preseason fixtures. Liverpool are playing Bayern later today. I think if Darwin Nunez ends these two fixtures maybe with a goal or two, and I'm certain that he's gonna start the season against Chelsea, then I don't mind getting Darwin in my team because when it comes to game week 2, Darwin could also be a captaincy shout.
I
I'll still be leaning towards Haaland. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not gonna count away from Haaland. But if you want to tell me a Bournemouth home, there is a chance for Darwin to outscore Salah, then I think Bournemouth home, he could easily. I give him a good chance to do that as well because if he's central and if he's continuing his goal scoring form, and he will get chances playing as the number 9. And when you look at Liverpool so far in the preseason, it's all been Darwin very central, Salah wide and creating chances to him. Salah has given three of the four goals. Salah has created three of the four goals Darwin has scored so far. So I think there is a potential for Darwin to score more points than Salah, and it's like a complete bold move from my point of view. But I mean, who knows? Come game week 2, he could be a captaincy option as well. And if you think there is a possibility of him getting more points than Salah or even Haaland in that week, obviously Haaland Newcastle always will be scary. He'll be scoring two goals whenever he wants. But it's just a point I thought at least I would think
so
because I have Darwin Nunez in my draft. I am not. It's not a given he'll be in my draft. The other reason for me to have him in my draft is that Chelsea and then Bournemouth at home. If it backfires, I can always go to
yeah,
an Nkunku
that, that
Jackson. I'll know who's the better option, and then they have a line of great fixtures.
that's the second. That's the
That's
point
the
I was gonna
other.
make. Yeah, I agree with that. So you have a fall place
And
to happen go to probably.
yeah, so if Darwin gives me that confidence in the next two preseason games, and I'm certain that he's going to start against Chelsea in game week 1, I think Darwin Nunez will most certainly be in my draft come game week 1
Yeah.
because that Bournemouth home fixture just appeals to me. Bournemouth will be open attacking wise. Liverpool will get a lot of chances, and I expect it to be very high scoring.
This is not a bad strategy, but this is again with a disclaimer that this is only for someone who can and wants to take a risk. If you're going and we will cover this in a question. If you're going very template, this is probably not the option. But again, just to summarize, Trent is probably a no from both of us. Salah again is an no from us. If you want to go Liverpool player, probably Darwin or Luis Diaz, you can take a punt there, and then you can shift to other players. But that's the overall gist that we have as of now with the Liverpool guys.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have what are some of the best midfielders under 7 million that aren't Mitoma or Buemo? This also is a subset to the question where people have asked to us to compare Mitoma, Buemo, and Diaby. I think that's how we pronounce his name. And a lot of other options we have. Anderson, people asking, is he a viable fifth midfielder? Is Eze an option where people are not considering him? What do you think?
I mean, let's come to the best option right now. I think I want to see enough of Diaby before But best
Jumping on
option,
him.
not Mitoma or Mbumo right now for me is March, because Brighton, you know that they are attacking. March is more given for minutes, and he is very involved in their attacking. I think he had like a very high chunk of the attacking numbers which Brighton were creating last year. He was their main chance creator, and he also had goal threat. And he is a very good finisher also. We've seen that from him last season. And De Zerbi really is a fan of March, and he will mostly go for March at the beginning of the season. So I think if it's not Mitoma or Mbumo, it probably is March for me. But with Diaby emerging as an option, I think he has the potential to be a very good and good player in this price bracket. And he's also probably would have a potential to become a template in this price bracket
Yeah.
also, because Aston Villa just look a different team. At the second half of last season itself, they look different. And I did see the game Brentford against Aston Villa, and there was a slow start for Aston Villa. Then Aston Villa came back like roaring.
Really strong. Yeah, they're
They
really,
were just
really strong.
controlling everything. The tempo is just like up there. Their midfield is great. They have Kamara at the base, and Douglas Lewis and McKinn very solid, and they have a lot of good players also. And Diaby did link up well with Watkins, so I'm sure that will be the better left-sided attacker preferred uh, from another former certain Bayer Leverkusen player Bailey. So they're just raiding that team for left-footed wingers at this point, I think. But yeah, I think Diaby does sound a good option, but I would also be I would want to wait and see, because March is more proven in the Premier League.
Uh,
March last year towards the end was more, um, involved, and he was in a lot of teams. And I really like him as a pick, because he's just very central to what Brighton do as a very attacking team.
Personally, I'm not going the March side, and I wouldn't really agree. I think the best, if you're not going Mitoma, which is the Brighton player, if you're not going Mitoma or Mbumo, probably go Eze. I think he's been phenomenal the preseason. The fixtures are there for him. He is key without Olis as well. He's going to be very crucial. He's going to play up ahead. Now Zaha is out of the team as well, so he's their main man, and they have set it a philosophy where they want to attack. So Eze is the other guy that I'm looking at the moment. Obviously, DIB and all of these people will emerge, and you'll figure out down the lane throughout the season. Even Bundia can, in the same prices as DIB, and both of them can be an emerging option. But as not, if not Mitoma Buemo, I think Eze has to be your fall guy, or like the alternative, because he has been so good in the preseason, and it's something you can't ignore.
So
I think
it sounds very exciting as a pick, Eze. I think last year towards the end he was great. He's on penalties, and this year in the preseason also he's been scoring great goals. But the problem with Eze is the pure fact that Crystal Palace are weaker when Olise and Zaha leave. Zaha has already left,
but
and while I understand that he'll be that talisman, will be more central towards him. I'm not sure his stats are very convincing. Underlying stats are very convincing from last season also. I think it's around zero point 0.4 expected goal involvements, goals and assists put together, which is not a very satisfying number for me. And so, as someone who looks into stats before going into getting a pick, more of an undecided pick, a dark horse pick in my team, I would initially, I think he has a couple of fixtures, but I think the fixtures are a bit mixed too, and I would personally not back Eze. I'm sure he's a great player. He'll be coming good for Crystal Palace, but I also don't know how to predict Crystal Palace at the beginning of the
yeah,
season. So
that's
there is a
there.
possibility that they could struggle, and if they do struggle, Eze would not be involved in
But
a lot of
at
what
least
they
with Eze,
do.
I know that he's the talisman of the team. It's not, you can bank from what I've seen from Crystal. I just checked his XGI as well. It was about 10, about over 10 throughout the season, which most of it he accumulated in the last 10 games. Obviously, there was easier fixtures as well. But the fact that he's on penalties, he is the talisman of that team. With Aston Villa, I know Aston Villa will outdo Crystal Palace throughout the season. But again, I don't know how will they set up. Is Diaby going to start? Is Bundia taking a very central position? Are they playing up top two or shifting formation? Because there has been a case where they're shifting formation. So will they implement that formation or the standard 4-3-3 they used to do? That's sort of some questions around that. Obviously, if you want to take up, and I think even Bundia is not bad in that category. He's shown good preseason form. He's definitely going to start, and he's nailed on to
If
start
they
at
play
the start.
if they play three attackers in their formation, I think it will be Buendia, Diaby, and Watkins.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see whether they play that three attackers, because in preseason they also played three at the back, five in midfield, and two
Yes.
attackers, where McGinn, Douglas Lewis, and Kamara played in the midfield, and that could mean that Buendia or Diaby, one of them could
Good start.
give
And I
way
think
for
in
them.
that situation, Diaby is the one who's preferred, who's playing more central, or they could like play shared minutes at the start. So it's
Yeah.
it's sort of a
Yeah.
gray area for me to like go ahead with that player. That is why he's not top of merit. As I know will get guaranteed wins, and that's why I would go there.
Hmm. Any other option in 6.5? I think so far
No.
we've looked at March,
March Gross is
Buendia,
there, which is
Eze,
not good. I
Diaby,
think
Gross is there. Gross, I don't think I'd go
Gibbs
there
White,
because
I
he
don't
can
think
play
I would go
right
there.
back, he can play a centre back. Mudryk is there,
No, I don't think
who
that's.
is an option.
I don't think
But
that's an option.
at the beginning, no go because he's not nailed for minutes as well.
No. I
Um,
wouldn't go anywhere. There's Gibbs White. That's the only name that strikes my head. But again, fixtures are not good, and I wouldn't go anywhere else. If you're in a situation where you are so short, I would rather downgrade, go to a forward, maybe with size 6. That is where you can buy something. But no, then switch up formation and don't really rely on these guys.
yeah,
Okay.
agreed.
Yeah, we are going to the next question. If Harry Kane leaves, which Spurs assets are worth the punt? I think Richarlison, hands down, he's worth the punt. If Harry Kane stays, I think Son and Madison will benefit more out with him. Madison slightly more because of his price point. Son also, I think, will benefit more. But if Kane leaves, hands down, it has to be Richarlison. He's the only striker in the team, nailed down for minutes. He's as a midfielder at 7 million, out of position. I don't think there's a huge debate around this who will benefit more if Kane leaves.
The first question that comes to my mind when Kane leaves is how good are Spurs when Kane leaves?
Yeah, I mean that's a different
And
question. We're assuming
yeah,
that the
so
fact that Spurs
that's the question I would want to see the answer for before jumping on their assets. I'm sure Richarlison will become a great option because of this very reason that he's going to play out of position and he's at 7 million midfielder.
But
And
let's say
enable
like
other
Kane
people.
leaves. Kane leaves before game week 1. You have information that Foden, let's say, starting or not starting, and even let's say you start with Foden game week 2. You know Spurs have a good run of fixtures. I would be tempted to take a punt on Richardson for the fact that easier fixtures you can depend on Spurs to score at least like 2 goals, and Spurs have recently shown attacking implicit and they like attacking a lot more than they used to. I think they can really figure out. It depends. Obviously, they can shatter out to completely their Spurs. They can do that, and they might not even score goals for like 10 game weeks on a trot. But again, I
But
think
they
the
have
player that
Madison also, so that's also worth noting. I mean, I'm not sure who's going to play in what position in their front three, which is also something that I can think of.
I
I
think it's
think Madison, Son, Richarlison can also all play in the left. Son, Richarlison can both play centrally. I'm not sure who. I think Kulusevski probably will play right.
yeah. I think
So
it's 4-2-3-1 with Kulusevski, Madison, Son, and Kane up top. Kane slash Richarlison. So if Kane leaves,
yeah,
Richarlison fills
okay,
it.
probably that. But coming back to the question around Kane itself, the latest reports, I think, in one of the places, he said that if he plays Brentford in game week 1, he doesn't want to be unfair to the manager, so he thinks he'll end up staying. I think this is what Kane said. If he plays Brentford, so it's very interesting to see whether Kane will be
Yeah,
around come game week 1.
I think Bayern
So
has shot
if
25
so,
million
I
of
think
the move.
yeah. Bayern and Kane, the saga is going on, but I think we'll get more clarity towards game week 1 whether Kane leaves or not. So if Kane leaves, Richarlison could also become an option in game week 1 if people are confident that Spurs will continue playing well without Kane as well. So they will continue scoring goals. I think their fixtures are also quite good.
They're not bad. They're
So
good, I
I've
think.
been looking at Spurs assets. I think keeping an eye on them, but might be jumping on doing an Mbumo to a Richarlison if
Kane
if
leaves.
Kane leaves in game week before game week 1. Yeah, that's where I stand. I think
Just,
they are obviously worth a punt.
just to add, in case Kane stays, I think out of the lot, Madison is probably hands down the better pick. He's
Probably,
7.5.
yeah.
The good thing I like about him is obviously he'll share set pieces. He'll be involved in the attack. He's been given license and in fact an instruction to get inside the box as soon as the ball goes wide. Obviously, Sun will do
Yeah.
that as well. But when you see Madison getting inside the box, you can have some more confidence in the fact that he will get chances to finish goals, not only assists. So that's something to monitor. I think given the price point he's at, I think he's a good option if Kane stays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, does Ramus Hojlund, that's how you pronounce it, Hojlund, right? Signing make Rashford less
I
appealing.
pronounce it violent,
Hojlund,
but
okay.
I'm
Does
pretty
Ramus
sure I'm
Hojlund
wrong. I'm
signing
not sure.
make Rashford less appealing at 9 million? I mean, that's a very subjective question. I would like to really pass it off because we don't know if he'll start game week 1. Even if he does,
Yeah.
what price will he come in at? So, in general, overall, I don't think.
Before being sure about this particular question, I would like to see more of Hojlund,
Yeah,
more of
just
him
in the
playing
Premier
as
League.
the number 9. How nailed he is. He's only 20. Is he gonna start all the games? If Martial is still at the club, will he play some of the minutes?
Sancho
If
has
Sancho is playing as
found his
false number
false
9,
9. Yeah,
is he gonna? He looked quite sharp in preseason. Is he gonna continue? So I think Hojlund is surely a very important signing for United. He looks like an exciting talent, but not sure being 20-year-old how early it is to look and judge everything around Haaland. Rashford, I think, is still United's main attacker
yeah. And I think it's a
regardless. I'm sure
wait
he's
and
gonna
watch.
get his chances. He's gonna be the more lively person,
Yeah,
and I'm sure he's gonna score a few goals. Also, he's gonna be very involved. And Rashford
yeah.
at 9 million, I mean, he's still appealing for me. But to address it with respect to Hojlund, I'd want to see more of Hojlund.
I basically just wait and watch, in my opinion. I can't really say. And let's say if he's priced very low, like a 5.5 or 6, then there's a question once he starts getting minutes whether you want to jump or not. In then there's a perspective to it. As of now, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
Mount, this is another United question. Mount have an impression on Bruno's playing position, time, and set pieces. This is a question. Mount's impact on Bruno's playing position, time, and set pieces. This is a question a lot of people asked us.
I can take it up.
Yeah, you can take it up. Cool.
Like I'll break it down. First, playing position. A playing position, I feel mostly Bruno will be a little more advanced. Bruno is very more like going to take the ball forward and get the attack. Mount is mostly gonna slot in as Eriksen replacement when Eriksen is not gonna play. I'm not sure Eriksen not gonna play every game. Also, he might be playing a few of the games. I think Mount will be more of that, but during the game where both Mount and Bruno are capable of playing deep as well as playing attacking, during the game we can see Mount and Bruno switch their positions. But playing position, I think Bruno will be more advanced, which we are seeing from the preseason also. And there is a chance sometimes Bruno could play as a right winger also. And in that case also, last season also there was a play point where he was playing right wing and he was creating a lot of chances from there as well. But his best position is the third man in the midfield who's a little more attacking. And I think Bruno will be playing that. He is
Yeah.
captain for the club and he is also one of their main transition towards attack. So yeah, I think Bruno will play at a little more advanced than Mount in more occasions. Time, there's never anything like with concern with Bruno about time. I think he's gonna play 90 minutes every game. Whenever he's fit, he's just gonna play every single minute. So Bruno Fernandes, no need to worry about time. Set pieces is an interesting thing because last season also Bruno did, the previous seasons before that he did get a lot of set pieces. Last season Bruno's set piece numbers actually decreased because Eriksen was taking some of the set pieces. Shaw was also on set pieces. Shaw is the left-footed taker. Eriksen is the right-footed taker, and Mount is also used to be a regular set piece taker for Chelsea. So I think Mount might be on more set pieces than Bruno when he comes to United, provided Mount gets going in United and plays regularly. I think there is a good chance that Mount gets more set pieces than United, especially than Bruno. Sorry, especially with I mean with Bruno, I think his set piece set
I
piece
mean,
quality went down a little bit towards the previous season because United was struggling. I'm not sure if it is quality or not. United was struggling to get any goals from set pieces, which was a point to note at that point. And then with Ericsson, they brought in, and they I think they got a couple of goals last year with set piece. So that's a point to note as well. And Mount could slot in taking set pieces
yeah.
directly.
And I agree in terms of set pieces. That's the only point I have to add. I think Mount and Chilwell will. Sorry, not Mount and Chilwell. Mount and Shaw will share set pieces, and Bruno will probably be still taking some of them, but most of them will be belonging to them. I still haven't gotten hang of the fact that Mount is no longer in Chelsea. But
Yeah.
moving on, best template as far is to go for a possible best to go template as possible and assess differentials later is the question. It's very again structure related. The next question is also structure related. We can take that up, which is have go with 2 or 3 forwards. Is it worth having a decent bench at the start? So let's take up
Okay.
the template question first. I think.
Yeah. So best to go template. I mean, there are a few picks who are very template and very good also. So it's always which players will get you more points. So if you think Haaland is template, if you think Saka is template, if you think Gabriel is template and Estupinian is template, and that's why you don't want to go to them, then I don't think that's the way. That's the way you should think. If it's a
Yeah.
template and a player who's gonna score points for you, that just let it be. I think
Yeah.
there it's not gonna be. I think template and differential come on the second layer, while the first layer is purely points. So in that sense, I think there are a few template picks who should certainly be in your team just purely because they are going to be more involved in getting the points for you, and they are
And
going to be captain.
And I
Yeah.
think like there's a very thin line. There are certain players which are currently template. I think Buemo is one of them. Mitoma, to a certain extent, is one of them. Maybe a 4.5 million defender is one of them. Onana is getting template player, which so these are certain positions where you can shuffle up and maybe go differential. The third striker is as of now is a differential position. You can go there. Your fifth midfielder is sort of a differential thing, depending on your formation. So there are certain places where you can take chances, but don't have to go out and out differential in your game week 1 draft. I think going about 9, 10 standard plays is totally fine. They are template for a reason. Everyone is starting to go with them because those are safe players to pick, and that is why you should go. A
They
couple
are
of
the best
differentials,
option.
yeah, a couple of
Purely
differentials
forgetting
not bad.
about price, forgetting about the team they play in. Sorry, forgetting about price and just thinking about the team they play and where they play. They are purely the best options. They are
Yeah.
purely the best possible goal scorers and assist creators in the Premier League, which makes them the best to go options early on. So don't look at that in that way and see that, oh, this guy is so highly owned and I'll need to get a person less owned. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
If he's whether he's highly earned or not, if he's the best option, just go with him. And if that player also gives you the best possible structure which you think your team should have, then you should go with him. And there are a few punts which we discussed earlier also with respect to Jackson, with respect to Darwin, and also in midfield if Diaby you go for him might be a punt. There are like positions like Anshuman mentioned in your team where you could go alternatively because it's with a player who you could back to score more points than the more template pick. And that's where you could maybe look into going to differentials. But mostly, if you think the template player is the best option, just stick with the template player.
Yeah, and that literally transitions us into our next point as well. Go with 2 or 3 forwards. It is still team independent because there is like a Darwin punt happening somewhere, maybe a Jesus. But overall, structure wise, I think the balance structure, as we discussed last time as well, if you watch that part or the reel, is the 2 forward setup. It is more balanced. It gives you more options. It gives you more routes to exit in case something happens bad or some. So it basically moves you out of an early wildcard more than a 3 forward situation, and that is what we would like recommend. 2 forward is probably the way to go this time, at least start the season with. And is it worth having a decent, by decent I think an expensive bench or the playing bench? But like we have certain players who are like starters for the team at 4 million, 4.5 million. I don't think that's necessary to have a like expensive bench to go ahead with.
I think when you look at benches, there are some benches where you would want all your three players to play, which I think at the start of the season is not necessary.
Yeah.
You should look into spending more money into your playing 11, and then assess your bench and see if you could improve your bench. So that's how it would be. I think you just get one player or max two players who you think will start regularly and will get a few points when called upon, and just spread the rest of the funds in your starting 11, because your starting 11 is going to be who you're going to field every week. And also there's the potential of having a dilemma if you have a strong bench, whom to start in which week. And just forget about it, just have the best starting 11 at the beginning and get like maybe one or two options from the bench who could come and cover for certain players if there's a bad fixture, injury, or if the player doesn't play. So there are a few options at 4.5 defense, and maybe 4 million defenders also could emerge as options. These are more than enough to cover the uh, the bigger hitters in your team, I feel. So at the start, especially when bench boost is not an option, having a decent bench, I mean, having uh, have spending lesser on your bench is the way to go.
I think having one bench player which will play is decent. If you think you require three playing players, you probably need to reassess your starting 11. But I think one player that will start, probably a fourth defender as of now, as we see things, is the way to go. Fourth defender on the bench, playing fourth defender is fine. You have the fifth 4 million defender as well in case things go bad, and your third spot can really be anyone, depending if it's a midfielder or an up top. I think up top we are going with anyone. I don't think any of the 4.5 strikers are starting this season as of now. And in midfield, I think again Anderson is an option that is emerging. He could get some minutes. Obviously, there's no guarantee if he'll get a lot of minutes, but
Yeah,
that's one route you can take, and that's about the bench setup. I don't think there's more to touch up on this bench setup in general.
yeah.
And yeah, that's about it with so many questions answered. I know this is pretty long video, but again, we went in depth. I think once you go through it, you'll understand that how important every point was. If you want to, you can rewatch it. And yeah, any last points to add, Akhilesh?
Not much. I mean, I think my draft will be most influenced by the fixtures which are coming this week. I'm really looking forward to watching the Community Shield, what 11 City and Arsenal will field. And also, with respect to Darwin Nunez, I think there is an important match against Bayern in the
Yeah.
preseason today. And also with the Chelsea assets, they play Dortmund. So these are games which will determine a lot with respect to assets like Nkunku, Jackson, Darwin Nunez, Chilwell, and also the Arsenal starters, whether to go with Jesus or Martinelli. So I'd say keep an eye on these games and watch your assets and see how confident they look. Of course, preseason is not all that will mean when it comes to game week one. But I think it does say some part of the body language, the confidence, and how much the player can take on when it comes to the Premier League. So this is something which surely is worth the watch, and you'll get more answers to your questions if you could keep an eye on some of these games this week.
Yep, and I think yeah, keep an eye on the preseason games. The next few preseason games, I think they're the most important so far because they're against really good teams, and this is where teams will start playing their proper 11. I think the finalized 11 in sort, where which they'll start with game week one. So I think these are more important than any of the preseason games that you have watched so far. So keep an eye on them. We will make a preview video next week coming out as well. If you want us to make a review of the preseason games like we did earlier on, another video on the preseason games, mention it down in the comment section so that we do it again. And yeah, that's about it. If you like this video, hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the bell icon. This is the FPL tips, I think, then signing off. Cheers.
See you.